We are so excited to join you guys today. Happy Lunar New Year, everyone.
Oh,
Yeah.
And so let us get Jan here, our wonderful president. And
Okay, so couple of things. One is that last Saturday we had a really fun class. I've got mine here on bead quilling from Kathy King. So the idea is in bead quilling that the thread shows. So it's kind of an interesting. This is going to be an earring when I get the the top of it attached. But Rita, our wonderful website person, has uploaded the meeting from last Saturday, about bead quilling to YouTube. So now it's available on the archive page. So check that out. If you missed that meeting, it was pretty fun. And it's not particularly hard to do, but it's just a different kind of technique that's kind of fun. So check that out. The other thing is that the spring bead retreat is coming up March 20th through the 24th. The information is on the UMBS website on the bead retreat page, including the registration form. And now we've just updated the website with class information. Rita is doing a class, Doris is doing a couple of classes. You'll actually sign up for those classes at the retreat. You don't have to do anything in advance, but there are supply lists and other information available on the website if you wanna check that out, and be prepared for the class. Or you can just go shopping in Doris's shop for for the for uh, for the supplies. And I think that's all I've got, unless anybody's got any questions.
all right, and then Becky, let's see where Becky is.
hey, Jan, we have our first banner up on the website too, Bobby Bead, as our sponsorship.
Yeah, we're trying to work with our vendor partners. And Bobby Bead, has over the past years been hosting meetings with Rochelle, from Bobby Bead, and so they're our first sponsorship um, banner that we put up, and we will continue to do that. So if you think of new, um, sponsors that we should be uh, looking at, let us know. Contact any board member.
How much are sponsorships roughly?
Work with the sponsor. Paula, can you talk to that?
Yeah, right now we are not charging for sponsors to participate. This is a honorary banner publication that's going to be on the main page, and you'll see the third when you go to the meeting, the third box down. We also have a sponsorship page that you can go to there, so we'll be listing the banners there and other sponsors as well. Right now, we're honoring all the sponsors that have and vendors that have participated by donating so many lovely things, products to us over the years. So through 2024, I think our plan is right now is to not have a banner system where we would be, charging anybody at this point. At some point that for 2025 or maybe the end of 2024, we will probably look into doing that too, but to do some type of like a banner system and things where people could pay for a little bit. But right now, I think what we need really is products for our meetings, products for our retreat kits, Twin City Bead Bazaar, any of those things. We like to have some products so that we can make kits and what have you. We also have our 31st anniversary coming up party. So, and again, the people that we want to honor could be anybody. It could be, national companies, storefronts, Etsy shops, artists that have Etsy shops or websites or what have you, because we have a lot of speakers. So it could be, you know, the name, the number of people, or the list can be varied. So you can send that information to us, if you have any ideas. So
So are you looking for, well, like, so when you say products, I'm thinking of like maybe, I know we have Boppy beads, but I do buy some vintage beads that are in colors that are hard to get a hold of from an Etsy person. Well, actually she got off Etsy because they charge too much now and it's her
Mhm.
retirement. Um, so she just sells kind of privately, but I don't know if she'd want to advertise. But when you say products, you're looking for like things that could be turned into kits or ways
Mhm.
to support.
Yeah, because we have numerous things, and we're looking at some point to do the auction again, where we may have curated kits designed, but by people donating different things, and we might, you know, establish a theme. So it might be a hodgepodge of different stuff. I mean, and it could be anything related to kits. So this, we're going to be linking with Let's Be Live or our meeting or any of the events that we have, because we have numerous events. We have 2 retreats. We have parties. And if we meet in person, that's an opportunity for us to do something, you know, in person. So anyway, but we have, you know, we know some of the national lines we may be talking about, even as far as Minnesota, and we in our it could be a little bit wider than just Minnesota. It could be Wisconsin, North Dakota, or whatever. And you know, because we're kind of, you know, we're out of Minnesota, but we're also a national bead organization. We have people all over the country that participate, so we're all over the world too. So, and I can, if you want, I could put my email in the chat. So if anybody has any ideas, they can send me some information. So I'll do that.
Great idea, Paulette. Thank you so much. And so we have an announcement from Becky about membership.
Okay, I want to remind the people that have not paid yet. The majority of our members were due the 31st of December. If you don't pay by the end of February, you will no longer have access to our private page or our meetings or any of that. The membership helps to pay for the things that we do, like the meetings and retreats, and pays for the teachers and the speakers at Let's Bead Live. And you do get a discount at the local bead stores. So it's a really good thing. Okay, I have a couple of jokes. Why is it bad to fart in an Apple computer store? Because there are no windows.
Uh-huh.
Okay. What's the difference between a well-dressed man on a unicycle and a poorly dressed man on a bicycle? A tire.
I was gonna say they're on a tire.
Okay, I'm done.
Oh, thank you so much, Becky. I love it. You're adorable. Do we have any other announcements from anyone? Well, super. Then let's get into our main event. Oh my gosh. Kayla is here tonight. She is co-business owner of Be the Vibes LLC and manager at Lotus Bead Store at the Mall of America. She's been beading and creating jewelry for over 2 decades. In her 8 years of attending the Tucson Bead Show, she's done everything from hauling rocks to selling to hosting and attending parties and a design challenge. And next to the industry leaders, she was able to have influence on featured Tucson products. Of course, the best part is the buying. Oh my gosh. Spotting the trends, becoming passionate about products, and the stories shared straight from the stores is one of the best parts of Tucson. And we really are so excited. She is going to give us all the latest and the greatest and everything about Tucson. And so we're also going to give her my camera And so that way she can do everything she wants.
Wonderful.
And there we go. And then we will share her other camera. There we go.
Hi, guys. Good to see everybody. I have attended a couple Upper Midwest Bead Society events in the past, mostly under Dakota Stones. But yeah, this is kind of nice to be on my own and doing my own thing for once. So I will share my screen and get into what you guys all want to hear about, I'm sure, which is Tucson. All right. Tucson trends of 2024. So we're going to start with a little bit about me so that you guys know a little bit of why I look at Tucson probably a little bit differently than the average shopper. So I started making jewelry when I was a child with my mom and continued designing costumes and accessories into early adulthood. Dance was a big part of my life. So I got to design, and my mom would sew all my dance costumes and all my group's dance costumes, and it was awesome. My family from early on sold crafts at craft shows, and I made little worry dolls before I made jewelry, which I don't know if you guys remember that craft, the old-fashioned wooden
They were made with clothespins.
clothespins, right? Yep, and embroidery floss. And that was probably the first start of many projects. But I was hustling from an early age, selling those while my family members would be selling beautiful quilts and baby blankets and everything. So so I started selling jewelry early on. But then I saw that there's a bead store opening up at the Mall of America. And as Shelly, the owner of Lotus Beads Jewelry, would tell it, I banged on the door, and like the siding was up. It was a completely different experience. It's like an oasis in there. So I worked at Lotus Beads. I was a class coordinator for a long time. So I developed classes and all of that fun stuff. And then I kind of it left, but not really, and went to work for Dakota Stones. And I like to say I work in sales and design, but I don't truly think that encompasses everything I did there. Just like there was a lot of different things that I got to do, especially for Tucson early on, which there's not a lot of designers like actually in the industry, like selling racks and stuff like that, I have found. So when you are in the younger generation and can like directly promote the product in showing how, I think that was a really big asset for that team. So also I got to name stones. Like I got to look at stones and say, you know what, that's actually lavender lepidolite instead of, purple or violet. Or so being able to do that, and working on different cuts and stuff like that, and having input in that, is kind of a really cool and unique way to look in Tucson. But yeah, after Dakota Stones, I continued working at Lotus Beads and Jewelry as a store manager. And as of 8 months ago, I joined my best friend, Natalia, and now we are Be the Vibes LLC. So not only do I like sell and do my own thing in jewelry, but I also teach how to do everything. I do Facebook Lives for Lotus Beads and Jewelry. I order for the stores. So I'm a very well-rounded beater. So yeah, so into Tucson trends. I have been attending Tucson since 2017 is the earliest images that I could find. But yeah, it started out with just us four: Shelly, Laura Andrews, Mary, and I. And then getting into 2024, we have grown. And yeah, we not only are those people in the top one, but on the sides as well. This year, we got to go with Shelly's sister, as well as a couple of the former and current employees. And then, yeah, so we have a really well-rounded group because we do all do different things. We've mostly worked with Shelly and have that in common, but we have designers like Tammy there is a designer that sells on the side, and works with Lotus. And then Rupa does as well, but on a smaller scale. I think she just loves beautiful things. And and Sarah too, like we've all sold stuff, but some of us are definitely more dependent on that income than others, I guess is how I would phrase it. So yeah, and then of course the fabulous Laura Andrews, which you guys probably all know and love. So let's start with the trends. I'm a little all over the place when it came to identifying some of my images. When I talked to Rochelle about doing this before Tucson, I was like, I just need to take a lot of pictures. And I gotta say, for those who haven't, I know many of you have, but for those who haven't gone to Tucson, it is a completely different experience that nothing can describe. Like, it is an experience that I would recommend to everybody. Not just like to shop and to buy things, but just to see the world's natural beauties and to meet with some of the straight from the source materials and stuff like that. But we, in all of my years of going, have always kind of focused on the Pantone color of the year. Only recently did I not really. And so it's exciting to get to know you again, Rochelle, because I know you're really excited about Pantone colors. But right off the bat, I was noticing, especially in the brighter color wave, the second one down, how many plated chains, and that is some hand-dyed fairy ribbon. And then I was thinking even more of the monochromatic as I was going through in some of the rough. It is not aluminum. I did not purchase any, so I don't know, but I think it's just more of like a paint enameled. It almost feels like a little like rubber, but I think it's a base, like it's a heavier chain in between, but maybe somebody else has probably insight on that too. So super cool. And then into the rough too, you get to see the finished product, the beads every single day, but being able to go closer to the source and see the rough is, I think, a completely different experience. And even some of the rough this year was flagging some of that Pantone color of the year vibe. Of course, labradorite, but labradorite's always in trend just because that is one of our favorites. We saw it a lot in like the bigger pieces and smaller and all the way around. And that is Natalia and Sarah, and then of course Shelly. Labradorite is her love.
Is bigger than she is.
Yeah, and that's why to actually see the whole perspective, it's like you got to be there. You got to be right next to that beautiful labradorite. Lighting. So this is one of my favorite booths to go to. But this year they really shone. I thought with the Turkish lighting, they did like a really cool awning to showcase some of their floor to ceiling lamps. So in that first picture too, you can kind of see the mosaic style. Turkish lighting is always like that as well. And I've been seeing mosaic styling more and more and more. So I kind of want to point out some trends that you're seeing even from slide to slide. Also natural lighting. I think that the world is expanding on what you can make into a light fixture and expanding into a lot more rocks than I have usually seen. These white onyx, this is one booth. Like, and it is even bigger than this. I didn't even showcase the life-size full mirror.
Selenite, and it's like 5 inches tall. I mean, that's what, a foot and a half tall.
Yeah, it's incredible. And so yeah, it's just breathtaking what they can carve, and even in showcasing more of the natural look with the bowls there. Natural copper. So yeah, this is where this is one of my favorite booths to go to. It is, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Into those jewel tones again, and into those shimmery. That's why you got it. I have gotten a copper bowl from them at one point in time, 1 year. But yeah, every year they just shine in their beautiful
copper components,
yep.
copper
Just little displays, and then like painting it with fire, of course, just to get the different finishes. Okay, apples were really popular this year for some reason. We would just see them everywhere, and I've seen this with fruit a lot in previous trends where it gets to be more like cartoony fruit, and even down to the cartoony fruit. But these are all carved stone, and even into those shell dishes. Lots of apples, lots of apples. And lots of finished jewelry. And each one of these is actually taken from a different show that we went to. So in To Be True Blue, there's definitely more colors of the stone, the casino show. There is definitely more in that top right corner of the individual artisans that you get to meet, that not only sell a lot of their kits, but they have these beautiful displays. So you get a lot of the non-beater casino crowd shopping out with the girls into industry leaders, because they have some wholesale showrooms in there as well. But yeah, and then more into other shows where you get the really, really, truly unique desert agate. The middle bottom picture is a Gobi desert agate first, and this was their first Tucson. And I was so glad that I found them, because Dakota Stones carries Dakota Stones carries Gobi desert agate. Sorry. I'm getting nervous. I don't know why. I do Facebook Live every week, and for some reason, these guys that I have seen in some way or another, I'm sure over the years, you make me nervous, ladies. Back to the middle there, the Gobi Desert Agate. It's kind of rare to find in finished jewelry as well as like by the strand. So I found this dealer that had some really, really unique things that I wanted to emphasize. And then all the way down into old antique style jewelry, the coin jewelry alone, Roman glass. This is going to be more Ethiopian style, where they melt down currency, and so it is more of a fine silver, a lot of those larger pieces. Global inspiration. I recently went to Mexico for my anniversary in November, and so I loved that I got to see Mexico in Tucson, and being able to help, again, straight from the source, and being able to communicate with those. Oh yeah, good call. Being able to communicate more with those type of vendors. Whoops, go back. Go back. There it is. Types of vendors are kind of fun, because it does make a global impact and as you can tell, stop share, right? And then here, I was able to purchase even just a little bit of inspiration. I like to purchase little things along the way, and I can soak it up to not a business expense if it's truly inspiring. My friend got one as well and ended up framing it in a cute little 4x4 frame. But things like this with pops of color, embroidery, hand stitched items like that really show, I think, the passion behind things. And again, back into that. Whoops. I need to share my screen again, don't I? Mm-hmm. Back into the Pantone colors of the year, right? So there we go. Treasures from Tibet. This is a newer vendor that we had found this year as well. So the hand felted pieces were super inspiring, just because I'd never really imagined like the different things that you can do with these hand felted balls and ways to add color into the world. So of course I had to get some fabric softener balls, because who could resist? Might as well liven up. Oh, I got them for myself.
Oh man.
I'll bring you one.
Are they available on your site?
No, not yet. We haven't expanded out to that yet. So yeah, within being able to work with Dakota Stones and into design challenges and stuff like that, I've been able to work with a wide array of people, from really cool store owners to uh, bead alon to beadsmith to Paramount Wire to just a bunch of different people. And of course, there's Maggie there. Our locals that I love, like C Coop. Got to see her, and back into the Pantone color waves. In my hand, I didn't actually get back to her booth to purchase these, so I have to contact her. But in my hand, I kind of pulled some Pantone nude colors, which I had been really into. I guess I could go into some of those too. And I forgot to show off the Gobi.
Oh, well, there's still time.
You got plenty of time. So back to here. This is how my bead mats look all the time anyway. But you can kind of see in the C Coupe colors where I went into the Pantone colors and like microfacet. These are just plated silverite. So it just means a plated stone basically. But they're able to dye these in such fun colors and plate them to make them extra sparkly that I could not say no. And again, back into those Pantone color waves. So this is going a little bit more into like that fall monotone kind of color, and then the pinker pastel-y colors, which I love. But really quick, as long as I switched it over, we went into, me and my business partner Natalia went into looking at the Pantone colors, of course, but with the idea of what we currently had sold in that 7 months of doing shows and selling, mostly just in person doing shows. What have we sold time and time again? What were we able to replicate? What did we want to kind of cut the middleman out of, that we can work direct from the source of, that we can replicate? And this sparkle sensation from umbrellas to roses to like I've seen this finish like crazy, that AB clear finish, and I absolutely love it. And so the story that comes along with these is we were demoing at Parawire. We end up using a lot of Parawire in a lot of our projects because it is a non-tarnish coated wire. So it's inexpensive and really easy to work with. So we ended up demoing for them at their booth for wire. We work for wire just like you work for beads. And the booth across the way, I saw these beautiful beads, and I was like, hey, we need to just do some simple wire wrapping. We're gonna just go buy these beads real quick. And I kind of jokingly said, oh, hey, do we get a discount because I'm using them across the way at a demo, and I'll send them your way. And so she didn't understand what I was saying and came back over with the $10 and was like, oh, no, people were coming right over there trying to get these beads. So I you see it a lot in the Chinese crystal. I think this year, Precoscia, all sorts of stuff like that. So I am going to go to back share screen. I didn't get a lot of the glamour for working from home of people being able to do a lot of Zoom meetings. So excuse me if I'm like a little rusty. COVID was a long time ago, and I only worked from home for like, oh gosh, a month. I couldn't handle it. So back on to the show. As I kind of talked about it before, straight to the source was kind of key in finding some of the Tucson trends. I knew that was my homework, so I did go straight to the source, and you're going to see a lot of those brighter rainbows this year, which I love, in their hand-selected strands. Those are the Jesse James Beads company, or John Bead and Beadsmith too. I was able to talk to them, and again, Paramount Wire, that is Frankie. You can see in their coated wires as well that they have that pop jewel tone color, and just not seeing the standard primary color base in even that color wave, that rainbow color wave, has me thinking. We do a lot of chakra jewelry, so it has me thinking of going more to that brighter jewel tone this year. And of course, I couldn't not show off the true goods, the guys of Tucson, right? Um, you're gonna see it is a very male dominated roles in the bead industry and in the factory leaders and in the and honestly, some vendors will only work with men religiously. So these are some of my loves. Of course, Ricky from Dakota Stone. That is Ramsey, who I get to work with here and there. I've worked with him in shows. He's from Hands of the Hills for over a decade. I have pictures of me setting up for old GNLW show. And then Jerry from Sing Raja, and then that is Keegan from Primitive Earth. And then Alien Amethyst. I had to throw this one on there, guys, because funny story again. I am happily married, but I love going to Tucson to with women that are not happily married, and Sarah was one of them. And we had to find the courage to talk to this guy that walked around in a kilt, shirtless. We came back to find him shirtless and in that same kilt. So he definitely is one of the rock dealers that are the casual gem crowd. And I got to ask him, in honor of you guys, in honor of the Upper Midwest Bead Society, what is this year's Tucson trend? And it is alien amethyst. This specifically is from India. And I had to, picture him holding rocks, of course. But yeah, it's normal hematoid amethyst. We get it most commonly from Canada. But I had to say that was part of the best part of the best trends of Tucson. I am wondering if anybody has any questions before I go into, I think probably a couple like just really small demos in wire working, similar to what I would do in Parawire, but I'll kind of go for what my business partner and I have been able to label as some staples that we try to continue to keep in stock. And I'll show you definitely some of those. But does anybody want to mic in and like ask any questions right now to cut the silence?
I really love that there's available men there for those of us that are not married anymore. So that's I've been to the Tucson show, but a couple times, but I did not my vision was not toward men, it was toward beads. And so that's a very charming entrance to, a new part of the show. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you enjoyed that, and that was I figured you guys were the crowd that would enjoy that. I like so in Tucson we have a big Airbnb and we have 8 women that stay in that Airbnb, and we actually rented a very big van this year to be able to travel from show to show. But also Laura Andrews drives there and goes usually on an adventure along the way or on the way back. With this year she did on the way back. So she has an extra car too for those that want to navigate in between shows. Otherwise, there's a really great shuttle. But that being said, I'm a really good wingman if you were ever in Tucson and you need one. There are more pictures of that individual with that I can always share as well.
I just want to say that just because some of us are old doesn't mean we don't appreciate the picture.
I love it. I love it. Well, you guys gave me a good excuse to talk to him.
Yeah, I can't wait. Hopefully I'll be able to go next year. I've been wanting to go all these years. And so, but I know just what I've heard, it's like it could be very overwhelming for somebody to go there the first time, getting lost or not knowing where to go, what's going on. So
you could always come on one of my tours and follow my lead.
That's right. Doris has a good tour. But yeah, we always have a good amount of people that is their first time going to Tucson that come into the store and like have special recommendations from us, and like we always list really really good tips. And I would always be happy to do that for anybody closer to Tucson. The packing list, things that you forget, the things that you also don't even think of, like when you are traveling in a group of 8 people, you should probably call ahead to a restaurant, especially if you want to go to the really good ones, which we're lucky enough. We were traveling with Laura Ziner. Laura Ziner. There we go. And she lives there now, like lives in Arizona, and has really great restaurant recommendations. So I love the bead community, and you always run into a Minnesotan, I feel like, whenever you go to Tucson. Um, I always say the first day, notoriously, the first day that I am there, I run into Jeff from Taylor's Falls Bead Store every single year. We didn't even go to the same show that we normally go to. We went to Pueblo the very first day and ran into Jeff. I was like, we don't even go. Like normally this late in the game, we go opening weekend, and it's funny how many Minnesotans you can run into.
Kayla,
Yeah.
are you going to have any of those items that you showed, like the apples and the copper pieces and stuff in Lotus beads?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, we did get small apples, the itty bitty apples. We did get uh the funny thing about shopping for a store is that you have to be realistic and you kind of have to spread a little bit of money in a lot of different ways. For Shelly in particular, helping her buy, we have the traveling gems of the GLW show that comes into town twice a year. So April is the next time. So realistically, it's what can we sell to supplement to be able to get to the April show, right? So a lot of the trends that we saw, we invested in a little bit here and there, little bites here and there, so that if it does sell, we can always rebuy. And a lot of these vendors we've worked with for years, so if anything, we can always re-supplement ourselves throughout the year.
Yes. Thank you.
When I went to the Tucson show, when we were having lunch, the guys from the Australian opal mines were there having lunch. And he had a breastplate that went clear to his navel. And because it was so large, it also had to go that far in the back to support the weight. And like the cabochon on his hat band were like that big, and there were 6 of them. It was just amazing to see them.
Yeah, absolutely. People do dress the part. I was going to do a slideshow of the outfits that I saw. There's definitely a lot of people that bring out all of their wares. It's a mixture between, like, I would say the Renaissance Festival to a very high class business ladies and celebrities too. Like there is, oh gosh, I forgot the Indian dealer. He totally name dropped somebody, and it was so irrelevant to me that I didn't think of it. But it was a celebrity's wife that is a big jewelry designer. Like, oh yeah, she just came by the other day, and I was like, oh really? Well, if it's good enough for so and so's wife, it's good enough for me. But yeah, it's crazy. You say Boulder Opal, Australian Boulder Opal, and yeah, that was definitely one of the things that I had to splurge on. Of course, can't see the true beauty, but Boulder Opal was definitely popular this year. Rarity wise, harder to get. So having industry knowledge this year, I saw a lot of repeats. So I didn't see a lot of rarity. You see influx in prices. So let's say Moldavite, for example. Moldavite's not rare. It hasn't been rare, but people will highlight the rarity of their sources just to be able to say that, to be able to charge more. Moldavite I purchased for, but before it was a TikTok trend. I found a receipt. I must have blacked out when I purchased this in Tucson one year because I spent $20 on a Moldavite piece that is like a couple inches long as a pendant with a sterling silver bill. But if you look at today's market and today's retail market, you'll see the same thing for $200. It just depends on the trends and how you can circle back. So, for instance, the trends in shapes in stones this year, I noticed, are recycled from previous years. They are the same exact strands that I can verify I sold at Dakota Stones years and years and years ago. So I know that a lot of stone dealers are sitting on old stock and just trying to make it look like it's new. And so I tend to speak very aggressively in Shelly's favor when talking to dealers. So that being said, I didn't see anything particularly rare this year. The rarity is, I would say, the class of it and the grading and the so I guess rarity would be Oregon Sunstone, right? Like the red. So the stuff that only comes from one mine. So that makes it interesting.
Yeah, and so the really high end quality specifics. I mean, did you see like Sleeping Beauty, turquoise? Was there a ton of certain like smaller mines, things like that also, or no? Or
no, it's like universally everything. A lot of rose quartz this year, a lot of amethyst. So a lot of things overshadow other things, I would say. But yeah, nothing that comes to mind.
Someone mentioned moldavite. We actually did get a bunch of moldavite
in for the store.
Lotus beads. And so was it like everywhere, or just that same vendor you've been getting the same moldavite from?
Same vendor. And then we got a new vendor for actual rough stones. So Lotus Beads and Jewelry started. I've been there since it started. It started off more as a bead store, and within the trends of Mall of America and just trends specific, it has moved to more of like a rock and finished jewelry. Finished jewelry is now one of our the top selling item in our store. So with that, we've had to be able to get more finished and more rough stones for the people that are getting into stone properties and stuff like that. So yes, we secured a new dealer for moldavite specimens, inexpensive moldavite specimens, as well as a lot of finished jewelry that we just work with the same good sources. But we haven't seen really a difference in pricing in that on our ends, just in what people feel that they can charge retail, I think. In trends. Yeah. Awesome. So if there's any more questions, we can do that first. And of course, we can do it at the end, or you can always chime in between. I love doing Facebook Lives, and I'm glad that I'm sitting next to you because I like doing Facebook Lives with people. When I started doing lives and stuff with Ricky, it was great because I was working from home at that time. So it was really great to have companionship throughout the day. Doing Facebook Lives with Dakota Stones, and now I do it with Shelly typically. So it's really great to do with you. That being said, I am going to start, I think probably I'm going to have to change into more of this camera setting, which we will.
But you are here. I mean, if you want that bigger, I can keep this one away. And then that will be giant.
Yeah, that works. That works for now. And then I'll move the camera over. I'll show off, kind of showcase my ideas for tonight. I was gonna just pull samples. So this is the other thing of being in an LLC, being in a partnership. You don't want to have one person have everything in storage, especially since I live in a 2-bedroom apartment. I have a little bit more room for crafts and jewelry right now, in between shows, and I have a steady car that is my own, so that is traveling. I have that. That being said, we recently had our first show of the season, and she has all the finished jewelry, so I have no sample exactly of what I'm making, but I will show you our tried and true, and you will see. I'll definitely take some photos and share to whoever would like to see them afterwards. But yes, this infinity concept has been really popular. I created a class years and years and years ago, and recently my business partner has been using it. These I was going to just create into earrings, dangling one of our beautiful, beautiful stones. So this is a sample I will be creating with a dangle. Sorry, guys. And then the other one I do have is going to be a bracelet that is I was like, oh, I'll just grab a bracelet from our stash, and unfortunately I don't have a finished piece again, but it is a sparkle bracelet. It is one of our tried and true. We have this is a rhinestone tubing. So it is like a silicone tubing that I got from Joanne Fabrics. I'll name drop whatever, as long as you don't buy them out of it. You guys can definitely use this. But the trade secret really in creating and designing projects is that a lot of things are hollow and you can stick wire in them. And so I've seen this technique. I would credit working with Dakota Stones and Goody Beads because Goody Beads had done a lot of really cool bracelet designs with hollow leather and memory wire. I'm going to be using an 18 gauge wire, but for this first demo, I will be just doing the earrings real quick, and then I'll do that one. How about? Awesome. Cool. So
there was a question, and while you're setting
yeah.
up, answer the question about the jewelry that you sell at Lotus Beads. Is it made from designers within the store?
Yeah. I would say a certain percentage is. Yeah. I might need your help. No, you got it. Thank you, love. I appreciate you. A certain percentages, and that's why we love you on the crew now, Rochelle.
I know, I'm having so much fun at the store. It's just amazing.
So a lot of it is we don't have any really other designers other than Luzeldis, who was a former designer, and we just sell or buy from his collection. But yeah, most of it is prepackaged finished jewelry. The rings, especially, because we don't have that equipment or anybody specialized in that works at Lotus. It's mostly finished, yeah. But we are able to teach on the spot stuff at Lotus, and we all make jewelry. And I'm excited that Shelly's really leaning into finished jewelry coming into the new year so that we can all kind of make more stuff. So yeah, awesome. Well, we are going to be using 18 gauge wire because that's what I could find. You can definitely make these thicker or thinner. The infinity link is super helpful for clasps, for just individual links. I formed it into bracelets and braided around it. This is a really, really universal link. I am using, so I usually make my infinities at work because I have everything right there, and it's so easy and organized. Where when it comes to my room, I could only find this bail making pliers, so we're going to be making it a little bit smaller than what I showed you, but you can use virtually anything, a Sharpie, a mandrel, whatever. So yeah, so no, we are so good. This is Kayla on the fly.
So on average, how long of a piece of wire does it take to make an infinity?
3 inches.
3 inches of 18 gauge wire. That's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
That's ideal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's scrap wire.
Mm-hmm. It's scrap wire. It's inexpensive too. So Diana Wemblum taught me that you should always cut your wire, and I don't like cutting unless I'm teaching. So I'm going straight from the piece from the wire, so I have no scrap. And this is probably what you guys are going to end up doing at home anyway. So I cut with the flush cutter flat against here to make sure that when I do bend it in, that it's nice and flush. Because with the flush cutter, one side is going to be nice and flat and the other side is going to be a little pointy. So you want to make sure that it's nice and flat. I am going to use the, yeah, there we go. That's good. Bail making pliers and bending it. So using the tool to bend around kind of to form that P. And then honestly, I go to the curve there and bend it the other way. And I'm gonna just make a couple of these really quick, but I will try when we switch the camera around to go a little bit slower. So we'll go through the hammering kind of technique down here. I probably should have thought about that before I got started, but sorry guys. And then when we have better lighting, I will up top. Oops. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just gonna go over the hammer technique for you guys.
So a figure eight is a universal symbol of infinity, eternal life, right?
Mm-hmm. Infinity, eternal life, all of that fun stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it has been really popular. Actually, I saw an uptick most recently at Lotus. So yeah, definitely a universal link. So what I'm doing here after I have my infinity link is I'm just twisting it back and forth like a jump ring to make sure that I'm getting as close as possible before I hammer. I brought a rawhide hammer out. It depends on the look that you want to get ultimately. If you wanted more hammered and flat and textured, I would be using a chasing hammer. But ultimately just to work harden the wire, so to make it nice and stiff so that it doesn't want to bend apart. As long as you have one, I have found that as long as you have one side steel, you can use a rawhide hammer just to harden it. So it's keeping in with that kind of round shape. Flattening it probably a little bit, but not too much. Keeping it nice and round. I'm working on infinity design 2 more into rings, because rings, I would say out of earrings, bracelets, necklaces, anything that I sell, I would say rings are the most popular in universally at Lotus Beads and Jewelry, at my shows, that kind of thing. People have been really into rings.
Because normally it's earrings. Like earrings.
You've seen it more in earrings than in shows?
Normally in shows, yeah.
Yeah.
The people I've worked with sell earrings 20 to 1 to a necklace.
I think.
But rings, you can have the variety of size.
Yeah. I think it's more so, well, I make really inexpensive rings, so it's probably price point too.
Oh, okay. Earrings are more expensive because they're double.
Yeah, and within our show, so we work a lot with Minneapolis Crafters Market, and they do shows in breweries, and it's definitely like a younger generation, right? So in COVID, us makers, I feel like, have found a huge uptick, right, in makers. Even within Etsy shops, I was talking to a maker recently, and even within Etsy shops, like it was 1 million before COVID, and now it's up to like 8 million. Yeah. So obviously you're going to see an influx of people making stuff, but people that specialize in earrings alone, I have found more makers that do that are accepted into the shows that I do, and don't do anything else. Don't do any necklaces or brace, or like they just do earrings. So I think it's the newer crafters that are getting into it. It's great to see the homemade scene and to see people making things. Again, I love that uptick. But I feel that people have specialized more in one thing, whereas in our business structure, we do candles, we do wire sculptures, we do tree of life, we do earrings, necklaces, bracelets, everything. So yeah. So that being said, I'm going to make just one more. And then, like I said, I will try to make one more closer to the camera so that you guys can kind of see it a little bit better.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, so cutting it nice and flux. And again, twisting kind of back and forth before I hammer it and before I harden it. I love this steel block that I use because it has that rubber bottom. So you can, I usually do it on a stool at home, to be honest with you. Nice stable surface other than a fold-up table. And if I was less confident and wanted to put it into place before hammering, for those that are beginners, I would have painter's tape or masking tape, but painter's tape is ideal because it leaves less residue, especially as you get into wire working. If you are getting into more intricate maneuvers and such, you are definitely going to want to keep some painter's tape handy. All right. So, thank you. I love having an assistant. So with these ones, see how different they are? So this is got to be more of like a 14 gauge, I imagine I used at the store. But within these bigger links, you can kind of see the possibilities. By opening up one side there, you have yourself an S hook. So you can easily utilize that into other designs. But yeah, these ones stayed pretty rounded. And a lot of times I would go back and forth and make sure that it's nice and stiff as well. But with these simple links, I'm gonna just kind of show you how easy it is to make it into an earring. And yes, earrings are very popular. With our pricing structure, for Be the Vibes, we have a lot of $20 earrings, and earrings take up less space to display because we have earring spinners right now. So to add that little dangle on the bottom, I'm going to just do a wire wrap loop, which I'm going to bend. I'm using my chain nose pliers, by the way. Bend over into that 90-degree angle. And use my round nose pliers on the corner to go up, over, and back down. Twist it around to the bottom. Go back around, 90-degree angle. And usually give that little twist there. So this is something that you can easily slide on afterwards, honestly, this little wire wraps. And since I'm utilizing a thicker head pin than usual, I'm going to fix this loop and complete the wire wrap loop with the 3 coils. Thanks, love. And then just open up that link. But yeah, I have done this in the past. Wow, there we go. I'm missing my light right now. You're totally fine. Thank you. It's also like sparkly, and obviously I just cut the strand. I haven't worked with this strand yet. So I'm just doing that like triple coil wrap there. And cutting the ends, tucking in that tail. But yeah, with this, you can still, as long as you haven't hardened it like crazy and hammered it to bits, you can typically still twist it open like a jump ring. So just like jump rings, how you want to twist like that, you can do it the same way. And let's see if I made my loop big enough. I did, yeah. So threading that on, twisting it shut, just like that. Super cute earring. And then for the top here, I think I'm gonna have to use a jump ring for these super thick ones. But with these, I have linked these separately and created my own chain too. You know, something super simple.
Could you make sure that when you work, you're doing it over your mat because it keeps going out of view?
I will try my hardest. So sorry about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, back to the jump rings. I think I have to do a jump ring to the earring wire. So I'm using 2 pliers, twisting it open, threading on the earring wire, threading on the finished earring, and twisting it shut. So yeah, there we go. There we have it. Super easy and simple. And then that was the link from before that I showed you. Really quick, I will show you the this close kind of version of making the infinity. And ideally, I typically start off with the nylon jaw pliers as well. That also work hardens your wire, so you can easily make it into something. Yeah, sitting on the tools over here. So I straightened it. We're just back to step one here. Cutting it flat with that flush cutter. We are holding it. And again, this is a bail making plier, so it's got, there we go, two sizes, this big and small size. And it's just consistent all the way up. It's not a step up plier or anything like that. You can use like a step up plier, absolutely. But really you're just looking for a mandrel type to form the wire around. So twisting around this way so that they meet up as best as they can. That 18 gauge wire. And then I'm using more of the wire to bend around, whoops, in the opposite direction. And what I'll probably do just to fix it is twist it around just a little bit, like kind of behind. Is that a little bit better there on that? I was like, I'm just gonna do it nice and close up. But yep, that's that flush cutter again, making sure that we're nice and flush. And then kind of just a reminder there, and this is nice to use this pliers too.
So you like using the regular flush cutter versus a double flush cutter?
Double flush cutter.
Like to some people, you know, so because it's at that one.
Oh, flat on both sides. So Natalia honestly is better at wire than I am, and she has a flush cutter. That's more of her specialty. I have fallen in love with Lindstrom and I can't stop. I think once you get a Lindstrom set of pliers and enjoy them for that long, it's even hard to go back to the store. So no, I don't. I just use the Lindstrom. I found that it gets nice and close. Yeah.
I like it too. I just always, you know, like to hear other people, you know.
Oh yeah.
Or they ask me a question like, why wouldn't I use this? What do you want?
Rochelle, we can't hear you at all. Or maybe it's just me.
It may be you, but I'm only a foot away from her.
It's not just you. We can't hear Rochelle at all.
That's okay. I'll just let you listen to Kayla. She's the expert.
Oh, Rochelle. It's okay. They just think I'm talking to myself. So yeah, so kind of going through, I think different cutters are good for different things. And I definitely have a memory wire cutter at home for heavy duty chain and stainless steel wire. And I have my other cutters that are just not as good anymore. And then this one for like more of soft wire work and beading wire for sure. All right, guys. So that is your first little tiddly boop there. Again, you can definitely use it for a focal for like more of the centerpiece. You can use your bracelet bending pliers pretty easily to shape and form it to that. And then possibilities are endless. Especially for you folks, you guys do a lot of really wonderful seed bead weaving. You can definitely make that and incorporate that really easily. Earrings, tassel earrings. Oh yeah. Yeah. I love being able to learn one skill, just one super fast, easy skill that you can incorporate into a lot of other things. So anyway, there's that. And then yeah, looking at different inspirational pieces, like leather and tubing and that kind of thing. I have been into feather earrings for quite some time, so I go to Joann Fabric for my feather earrings, and I found that feather trim is the best, and rolling them is the best way to get the most bang for your buck in feathers, because feathers can be very messy to work with. So in searching Joann Fabrics, I found this absolutely fantastic, one of a kind rhinestone encrusted tubing. So it's kind of in the cut ribbon department. If you ever want to find it, obviously it's Joann's. You get a good coupon for it. I got a scrap piece at the end, so I got the best deal. So yeah, so hollow tubing, I just kind of purchased it and played with it. And 18 gauge wire works really well for this again. So that's kind of what I initially intended on doing. I typically start by, how much would you think that is? That's kind of more like 5 inches. Again, I get the most bang for my buck, and since this is the most expensive piece in this piece, I typically do more like 5 inches, and then the wire wrap loop on either side is going to add at least a half an inch. The clasp, and then I always make either stretchy bracelets or bracelets with a chain with adjustability status. If you're making jewelry for people that you don't know, and especially selling it, you kind of want that flexibility, I found. So that being said, I pre-cut this. We are going to just straighten and harden that 18 gauge parawire from before. So that silver coated copper base. Copper's the base, but it has that extra coating over top of it. So straightening to hard. And again, I'm working straight from the spool. When you do create more than one and you hate waste, you tend to work straight from the spool. So I'm threading it on right onto that wire. And then I am making a wire wrapped loop on this side. So back at the chain nose pliers, I tend to leave myself, there we go, I want to say 2 inches. I like 2-inch head pins too. I like being able to have a little bit of wire to work with. So I formed that into a 90-degree angle. And using my round nose pliers, I'm going up, over, and back down. So it's creating that P shape. And then it's going to go around the bottom prong of my pliers. Give it a little twist. And this is where I would thread on my chain. And so I'm going to just use these infinity links that we just used earlier as chain and hold that loop, coil that around 3 times. 1, 2, 3. I have gel dipped nails, so I tend to use my fingers a lot with softer wire to tighten my coils and that kind of thing. I found that the gel dipped nails usually last pretty long for me in working with candles. Like I said, our company makes candles. Rochelle finally got to enjoy one.
So good.
And then now I'm just tucking that tail after cutting that. But yes, candles, I kind of want to get into mosaics, especially after Tucson. There's been little things happening that have been inspiring me. So this again, really, really easy, because all we're gonna do is gonna do a wire wrap to a clasp on this side, and there you have it. So back to this. If you wanted to, you could cut at this point. If you wanted to stop being ridiculous.
That was the exact question. How do you turn those infinity links into clasps?
I know. I'm about to show you. It's so great. So chain nose pliers back to that 90-degree angle. You can tell I've taught this a time or two. Up, over, and back down. Twist bottom, back around the bottom prong. I do this a lot too in our Facebook lives. You guys can always go to Lotus Beads and Jewelry and watch us live on Wednesdays at 9:30 a.m. or catch the replays. We don't currently post it on YouTube, but I'm working with somebody that tells me it's possible. So, so first off, you can definitely make that piece, right? I would do probably the thicker gauge wire. You can use this piece though as well. You can use it as is on this clasp. I'll show you that way first. You can use as is. It's already hardened. It's good to go. You can use that as a clasp. And again, I reuse that link as the chain on this side. Infinity, infinity, infinity. But I will show you kind of what I do typically when I know that I need a clasp. There's a couple different ways you can do it in the same exact concept. So I'm coiling that wire around 3 times. And since I work hardened the end a little bit more, oops, sorry guys, sorry. I'm twisting it, coiling it in there, getting my pliers in there, cutting the tail. So yeah, so I added that clasp on. If you want a little more flexibility here, you don't have to do that beforehand. That one just opened up. So clasp on this side, that side, usually I have a sparkle dangle, and that's one thing that we were looking for in Tucson. But traditionally when I have the infinity link, I like to make one side a little bit smaller than the other, and that's how I prefer my S hooks. So to do that with one of the ones that we kind of already did, I would just use that bottom bail making pliers, that same pliers, for a slightly smaller size. So even though we already hardened this one, we can just continue the curve. Whoops, sorry. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Just continue the curve like that. And we're going to cut it. And because I'm using it as a clasp, I would want to work harden it even more. And I would really, really want to twist back and forth and really work harden this more like a jump ring. And I probably would do this side just a little bit more because you want a space in an S hook. You want a space where you want to get in and out of the other side, right? So this side, I make sure that it's really nice and flush. And then this side, I leave a little bit of an opening. And even though we already work hardened this one, I would work harden it again. Also, to make it a little bit wider, I would probably use a chasing hammer rather than a rawhide hammer or a nylon jaw hammer. So it would get somewhere in between this size and this size. And then, yeah, I would just attach it here. And then this side here, you would just link into whatever link you would like. I don't usually use this for this. Usually I have just regular circular chain and a lobster clasp because typically, if I'm not making something completely specialty, I'm making it as consistent as possible. So I'm making something kind of more user-friendly with lobster clasps and circular links. But yeah, I forgot to kind of mention a little bit more show and tell here. One thing that I think is tried and true is that gold is getting more and 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 more popular. Crazy. It's crazy how much you can separate it out and really put it off to one bust and have people love it. Just love, love, love it. So I heard it from the vendors, the chain vendors. One of the chain vendors that does that beautiful fairy silk. One of that one is said that out of all of the colors, so out of all the base metal colors, including satin Hamilton gold and bright shiny copper and rose gold, out of all of them, gold is selling the satin Hamilton gold. So that brushed gold finish is selling more than any of the other ones. Between Hill Tribe, like Hill Tribe silver vendors will always say that Hill Tribe silver will sell, but yes, gold, the gold variation, I think, is just really becoming popular. More and more expensive, unfortunately, but more popular. So that was one thing that I got straight from the source from lots of vendors. Gold, gold, gold.
And how much is gold per ounce these days?
Oh God, I have no idea. I know that it was a lot of money for our wire that we ended up getting, because you can get closer to the source in Tucson. So yeah, I have no idea. I'm sure some of these other ladies should know, but I'm gearing more and more towards gold for sure. Awesome. Does anybody else have any questions for me? I feel like we got a little bit of everything. Yeah.
She says those are so cute. Love the crystal discs.
I do have a question. I noticed that there's like hard wire, half hard, and then soft. What is the difference between them, and what would you use when?
Great question. That mostly pertains to sterling silver and gold filled wire. The base metal wire, I have seen craft wire that is more like half hard and soft, and it's advertised as that, but I've never seen parawire advertised as that. I typically, if I know that I'm going to be work hardening it and hammering it like in my rings and I want it to be more user friendly, I use dead soft sterling silver wire, because you can really feel how hard your wire is getting when you start all the way soft. I have found that wire workers really like to work with soft wire. However, half hard works well in wire wrapping. I would say, like in simple wire wrap links and in chain and stuff like that, I would probably compare that more to base metal wire, and you don't have to work it as much, so you don't have to soften it as much or harden it as much. I mean, with nylon jaw pliers and stuff like that. Did that kind of answer your question a little bit more?
Kind of. But so you're saying that you would use soft most of the time?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if you are intricately wire wrapping, I wish that I was wearing more of my cell rings, like wire wrap rings and stuff like this. The softer the wire, the better. Anytime you're working with even more of like the wire wrap pendants, where you intricately do more of like this figure eight, actually, weave back and forth, you would want the softer wire. But with, let's say, I am linking a bead in between chain and I'm just doing that as a wire wrap link, whether it like just smaller surface area, I would probably use harder wire because you're only using a little bit and you don't have to work harden it and don't have to maintain it as much. It'll be faster in the long run. The question about parawire. Parawire, does it tarnish? Not really, honestly. I have found that the livelihood of my jewelry, and when I first started making jewelry, and even I wish I was wearing it. My sister does chainmail, making links from parawire. The clasps, the base metal clasps and the base metal chain have tarnished more than parawire. Parawire stays very consistent. Very, very consistent. It keeps its color. If anything, sometimes at the end. But since it's working with a smaller base company, yeah, thanks. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So yeah, Evelyn, Parawire, not really. Doesn't change color over time. It's a smaller base company and they really stand by their product though. So once in a while they have a rough batch, whether it be color variation or plating issues. But they are a small United States United States based company. So you can go straight to the source. And we carry that, most of that at Lotus. Typically when you find it at craft stores, you see like more bead lawn wire or beadsmith. Mention using painter's tape for something related to hammering. How would one use it? I would just use a strip of it to hold it down while you're hammering instead of using my finger. Especially when you're getting into the finer details, like when I use a chasing hammer and I add this texture. Sometimes you're hammering it for quite some time. So a painter's tape would be very beneficial to hold one side down while I'm hammering the other side. And painter's tape, when you ultimately do hammer over top of it, peels off with less residue than masking tape. Do you have a source you'd recommend for the steel that you use for hammering? This is from Lotus. I think time and time again. This is a Euro tool specifically. That's the brand. And it's from Lotus, but I think Lotus sells a couple of them with that kind of puck. This has a removable puck, which also comes with a nylon puck. So the nylon puck is like that. The nylon puck is very good for just hardening, or to flatten. So if I go to town, like if I'm stamping a project and engraving letters into it, and I go to town, a lot of times I will flip it over and hammer it on top of the puck to flatten. So this is a super, super handy tool. It is an investment. A lot of the tools that I use now, since I've been making jewelry for so long, is an investment. But once you invest in them, and find companies that stand by their product again, and stand by their tools, it's better. All right, see if I can. Difference between gold filled and 14 karat gold. You're probably better at that than I am. Gold filled is over 10 times plating, just like silver filled. It's 10 times plating over sterling. And 14 karat gold is that just a plated gold or is it gold filled? It's a more of a plating. The gold filled is just like silver filled. It's going to be 10 times plating. So plated and bonded and all that crazy fun stuff that they do nowadays. Awesome. The only thing that I didn't get to that I kind of wanted to is the other thing that I was kind of looking for, and we don't have to like do this camera angle if you don't want to, but we can. Do I have to flip this one back up this way? Yeah, I'll put it on my face. That's fine. Okay. That's on you now, so it's fine. This one's fine here. I fixed it. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. So the one thing that I looked at, because as I have been making jewelry and selling jewelry, I find that you're constantly working on displays for jewelry and photography, and ease of setting up and tearing down, honestly, is really what we've been doing, and tightening up that setup time and tear down time efficiency. So I have found a lot of inspiration in just displays in booths in Tucson, because you have such a wide range of vendors, and people from all over. You can really ask nicely and take pictures of people's displays and find ways to repurpose things for different heights and variations, and the things that are antiques and stuff that you didn't think would worked really well, and a lot of more wholesale wood fixtures we've found there. And I kind of want to get into more of the wood fixtures because it's more of a natural look, and it lasts longer. It's really just investment at this point. So that's one more thing that I did look at, take a lot of pictures of, but wasn't able to include in the show. And every once in a while in the Facebook Lives for Lotus, I do go through different variants in that because I love displays. It's one of my favorite parts of the job. Awesome. I'm not really seeing any more questions come through to. Awesome.
This has been so much fun. I almost feel like I went to Tucson with you.
I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. It's so much fun hanging out with you. Awesome.
And there's so many pretty rocks at Lotus that we've been tagging since they got back.
I want you to have that if you have a speaker too, so people can finally like
so many
hear you. She's here, guys.
I really am. Any other questions, comments, jokes? Oh my gosh.
I have a question. So, I like, beads that have historical value, or, there's, like trade beads and different things, but, there's so much people that have integrity for selling that kind of stuff. And then there's always some people that probably aren't so much. So do you have a source of, probably you've been researching this for many years, but do you have a source or a go-to thing that you're like, well, is this particular bead or style or something actually what they say it is? Do you look at, sources for, there's like African, and you were talking about different countries and things like that, or stones or whatever. Do you have a good couple of sources that you use?
Yeah, that's a great question. So because Lotus started as a franchise, as Beadniks, and the owner, like, that came with the franchise, which was great. So it started, I would say, with a good solid group of source materials, because the concept of Beadniks, it was a franchise. So that being said, in working in the industry, it is a lot of word of mouth, like, and as you know, the bead community is very small. So yeah, absolutely, we use sources that get handed down from generation to generation. In fact, our Ethiopian dealer that I had showed a picture of earlier, she took over her father's business, and so Shelly got to reminisce a little bit with the daughter. So you see that a lot in the industry, generational dealers and vendors, which is great, or people that acquire stashes from other people or companies from other people. So I think that especially within the bead community, you can definitely find reputable sources, and we do that too. I think it's fun to go from. Oh, I just wanted to make sure that you could hear Michelle though. Um, we like to go to a couple different vendors. If you see Rough Opal, you typically see Rough Opal, and that's pretty much all they carry. So this year it was great because our Rough Opal, we didn't realize, had Ethiopian crosses and Ethiopian neck pillows too, because those like little wooden neck holders, they tend to have artifacts as well. So I think having a base of good sources and asking around for prices and stuff like that, and word of mouth really works well in people's favor, for sure, if that makes sense. But yeah, we definitely have a good, I want to say like 4 or 5 dealers, specifically in African. Mm-hmm. But we don't invest too much in that. Unfortunately, it's not what sells. Within Lotus, being able to have the authentic stories and stuff like that sells really well, which is why I think we're kind of moving that onto more of the online market, because it's a little easier to find the people that really appreciate that stuff online and not hidden in a safe corner at the store.
Yeah, I like to try to find places like fair market type things where you actually can maybe buy some beads or certain things from, like a particular, industry, a woman's industry, you know, that kind of a thing, I think is, especially in a lot of different countries, the way people are trying to support their families and a whole community by selling something that's specifically made by, um, the
Impoverished
community.
women in
Yeah.
the community. Yeah, absolutely. You see that a lot. Kazuri beads started that way, like the African Kazuri style beads, and yeah, within the embroidered, the Mexican embroidered, went back straight back to the community. So I love being able to attend shows like that too, and like. I want to just say like dirtier shows because they're like more outside shows like Pueblo and like Kino and stuff like that. You typically do work more directly to those sources, to the small families or and things like that.
Cool.
Yeah, awesome. For Lotus, oh yeah, Lotus Piece of Jewelry at the Mall of America.
Oh yeah.
I have to say, I love the Lotus store. So I was, it's such an interesting treasure to go shop there and find all sorts of goodies there. That's just, anyway, I want to say that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. What am I doing? Speedsandjewelry.com. I'm trying to do too many things at once. Awesome. Well, cool, guys. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a lot of fun. I think you're getting Shelly to participate more in.
Thank you so much. It was great.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys can stop by Lotus anytime. Now that we have Rochelle, it's typically Rochelle and I that are working there a lot of the time, and we are always happy to provide insight and designs. That's super fun, and insight on selling even. Did stores ever get together to do that? Twin Cities Bead Bazaar, I think, would be the local bead stores getting together to chew the fat. Yeah, Twin Cities Bead Bazaar, more so. But that's more like vendor style, which is something you experience more in the wholesale side of things, like the traveling shows, the circus families. Right. But yeah, other than that, I don't think every once in a while in Tucson, we do get together with Ermi and Shannon from Beada's from one of the Beadnik stores in Santa Monica. Do you think beaded jewelry is oversaturated? I think that there is still a market for beaded jewelry. It's just finding what works best. I don't think that the market is oversaturated just because there's so many different things. Like that one seed bead artist that I had pictured from the Colors of the Stone, what was so cool about her designs, it was definitely inspired, right? Like it is using the same kind of techniques, but her designs were of the Tucson sun. It was like two beaded things put together. I think that stones, semi-precious stones over like hand stitched beaded elements tend to sell better in both of my line of works. People don't appreciate seed bead weaving as much as they should. And typically the seed bead things that sell well, intricately stuffed, is the straight from the source, is the supporting impoverished women and communities like that. So that's what I have found myself. Julia's, oh yeah. Yeah. So going back to COVID, right? I think, and I've been talking to more and more people, that COVID really did hike up candle makers, bread makers, jewelry makers, people that are repurposing and recycling things. I think it really kicked it up. And so yes, unfortunately, art fairs sometimes are harder to get into. But it is gives you a really good opportunity of self-reflection. I haven't gotten into every art show that I've tried to get into. Even if I've been like, well, I've been a vendor there for years and da da da. And in the jewelry industry, it is cutthroat. So yeah, I agree with you, but it's finding your niche and being able to appeal to that market. So like what I have done is a lot of brewery based shows and continuing to do that and just finding success in that. Even though I don't drink, I have found success in that. Yes, it is nice that Maggie and Lisa teach. They are fantabulous. Like
Thank you.
Minnesota is such a great beading community. So we're really, I'm so happy and that Lotus has just dragged everybody in. Like, I think good people attract good people. And so it's really happy to have great instructors.
Thank you for mentioning that, Paulette.
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that. All right. Yes, gemstones are big. Cool. Well, awesome, guys.
This has been so much fun. And we do have this recording, will be recorded, or it is recorded. This recording will be up on the YouTube channel as well. So then you can tell your friends who missed it, they can see it there again. And you'll be able to rewatch as well to get Kayla's techniques and tricks on how she's making all of her great little wire components. And be sure to check back in for our March meeting. We have a whole lot of fun upcoming in March. It's the 4th, I believe. And sorry. For all those who haven't been, it's with Sage and Tom Holland, and it's the history of lamp working glass beads. And so it'll be really a lot of fun. And those two are amazing. They've been around it for generation. And so I'm just so glad that we can do so many different things and have wire working. And we have not had anybody talk about wire yet. So we really appreciate that, Kayla.
Awesome.
And
we'll talk Natalia to come on. She's the better of the two of us in wire wrapping.
Well, that'll be a great Let's Be Live.
There we go.
And so we really appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us. And hopefully you all will be able to be hammering away at home soon,
Yeah, I think I'll be making some of those affinity links, definitely.
The other thing to mention that is kind of a trade secret, I would say to Lotus, is that we always rent our tools. If you come in, now we're in between busy seasons at the Mall of America. I know a lot of you don't like to go out to the Mall of America, but when you're local, you know when the busy seasons are, right? So during the week, during the day, typically it's nice and easy peasy. That's typically when we have our RCB woven classes and Lisa and Maggie teach during the day. But also we always have space if you want to rent our tools. So any of that hammering stuff that you don't want to invest in right away, you can rent a tool. And then also teaching wise at Lotus, I teach classes, Rochelle teach classes, we teach a lot of classes. So anytime you want to have something special, done or like taught to you, 3 or more people is our policy. So if you get a couple of ladies together and you want a class done to whatever you want it kind of thing, 3 or more people is typically the rule of thumb there. So
that's great. That's awesome.
Book yourselves in. Lotus Beads, you can call or do it online. And but come on out, and thank you so much for joining us all tonight, and we'll do it again next month.
Yeah.
Thank
you, Rochelle.
Thank
you, Jan. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. Thank you.
Thank you.